Hello and welcome to Zambia Today. I'm your host Emmanuel Mwemba. Today on the program we are discussing the progress made in the agriculture sector, and joining us in the studio is Dr. Oliver Bulaya, who is an agriculture expert from the Conservation Farming Unit. Dr. Bulaya, welcome to Zambia Today.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel. It's always my pleasure being on your set.
Great. Just to set the tone for this conversation, let's just begin by understanding what Conservation Farming Unit does.
Yes, Conservation Farming Unit does quite a lot of activities in enhancing the agricultural productivity in our country, and also targeting medium and also smallholder farmers and medium scale farmers. So we are very much, versed with technologies to advance climate smart agriculture, looking at the climate variability and the challenges that they are of and that are affecting our farmers, so much in terms of lowering the productivity levels. So one of our major component in terms of our interventions is based on the promotion of climate smart agriculture and agroforestry, where we need to bring in this very important aspect of farmers understanding the essence of forest in terms of enhancing agricultural productivity. So we base our activities on conservation agriculture for soil nutrition, and also for sustainability of the agriculture, as well as ensuring that farmers guard, the forest around them and incorporate, some of these important trees, in their farming activities. Besides that, we also look at the situation of working with the off-takers in terms of market access for our farmers. So we have also specialized interventions in the area of enhancing market linkages, to our smallholder farmers. Because if they produce, what next? So we work with various stakeholders and specialized units in terms of enhancing that gap, especially linking our smallholder farmers to markets. And besides that, we also actually contributed a lot in terms of building the capacity of agro dealers. We, in the past, even now, we work with the agro dealers by ensuring that agro dealers bridge the gap in terms of providing some of the products and services that are very much pertinent in enhancing the promotion of conservation agriculture in our country. Besides that, in terms of building the capacity of agro dealers, we also have engaged tremendously well in terms of the building the capacity of those that are in business who would want to engage into tillage service provision for our farmers in terms of enhancing conservation agriculture tillage services. So, as you are aware, conservation and traditional farming methods are two distinct technologies, and in this case, we prime our activities on conservation agriculture or climate smart agriculture based on minimum tillage. So we have some of the business people that we've brought on board also as to provide a link to our smallholder and medium farmers in terms of tillage service provision, among many other activities that we've been doing for the past 30 years.
Great. Coming to today's discussion, looking at the progress made in the agriculture sector. Let's just begin with the major development in the agriculture sector, which is the paying of farmers. Government has released the money owed to the farmers. What is your reaction to this development?
Yes, I think this is something that is good, because a lot of farmers were distressed because of the delay. And but I think quickly, let me mention this, that the government had a budget looking at the resources available, where they intended to buy 500,000 metric tons. They ended up buying over a million metric tons. And for me, I think this is a a gesture, a good gesture that was shown by the government to to absorb all those products or the produce that farmers delivered at various depots. I always ask a question, and farmers can ask themselves a question. If the government said we've done, with a target that we had 500,000 metric tons and we are not uptaking any maize, what would have happened, especially to those farmers who already delivered the inputs at various depots? Because this could have added more cost, to farmers to transport back, their maize, to other off-takers who could have bought that particular maize. So in this case, the government was unanimous enough to bring in or to absorb all those farmers that brought in their produce at various depots in the country. And the only thing that was amiss was the Food Reserve Agency to provide adequate information to farmers then in terms of assuring them that the government has collected all these inputs, but they will not be paid earlier because of challenges in the case of the government or the Food Reserve Agency over purchasing, some of these commodities. I think if that could have been done early enough, farmers would have been ready to accept and also to plan ahead in terms of finding other alternative sources of getting extra income elsewhere to fund their 2025-2026 farming season. But despite all these challenges, the government did not sit by. They engaged the banks and they got some of the monies, 5-6 billion, and started paying farmers in phases. But the bigger number of farmers were paid actually by 10th of January, according to the Honorable Minister of Finance. And this was good enough because all the banks received the money for all our farmers in the country. And I think this is one area that has elevated our smallholder farmers in that aspect. And our core in this case is this, that despite the delay, the farmers have been paid, and let them invest those resources wisely in terms of those that may have water sources. They can use irrigation facilities to couple up their activities if, the rains are over.
Great. Coming to the crop marketing season, we have seen government has been calling on the private sector to come on board and head the marketing process of crops. What should we expect in the 2026 crop marketing season?
Thank you so much. The government has done extremely very well. As you are aware, Emmanuel, the growing, for example, of maize was a preserve for smallholder farmers. The large-scale farmers were not engaged in this. But now, because of the favorable prices or attracting prices, we've seen the large-scale farmers uptaking the growing of maize and actually even the military wing. This is why we are where we are now. Zambia as a major contributor in terms of maize production in the region, and I think this is good. This is why you see that even in terms of the marketing, the Food Reserve Agency provided favorable prices for smallholder farmers. This is why many of them offloaded, their crops at Food Reserve Agency, other than the private sector. But in this case, there must be some engagements, the government and the private sector. The government cannot sustain the marketing on their own. Looking at the projections of where we are going to, we anticipate increased maize yields year by year with favorable rainfall and with the technologies that are being provided in terms of enhancing the production levels of our farmers through conservation agriculture or climate smart agriculture and other seed varieties that are producing even much more. The investment in the fertilizers, where these fertilizers are available to farmers, both in organic and organic, fertilizers that are helping our farmers to to produce even much more. So in this case, we want the private sector to play a major role to fill the gap. The government cannot provide markets. For example, if we produce, we increase production over 4 million metric tons this year to 5 million metric tons this year, what are we going to do in terms of providing a sustainable market and absorb most of these commodities from our farmers? So the private sector have to play a major role by providing a sustainable market system for our farmers. The government has provided the markets, not only locally, across the region. Let the benefits, pass on to our farmers through the grain dealers, the millers, and other off-takers, have a prime role in this case. But I believe, Emmanuel, yes, the private sector, in terms of the millers, for example, are going through challenging situations in terms of, fuel prices, in terms of electricity tariffs, which seems to be higher, and other taxes. And I think it is very important the government sit down with these private sector and look at the challenges they are facing and provide some incentives in that way. Because if they increase the buying prices of maize, meaning it will affect actually the buying of mini meal in our country. So economists and specialized units within the Ministry of Agriculture and the government should look at the systems on how the private sector can play a major role to leverage on the production levels of our country and provide sustained market for our country. And I heard some announcement from one government official also emphasizing to say actually the Minister of Information, discussed this to say government is having talks, with the private sector in that regard to ensure that they provide a robust market for our farmers. And that is the way we need to see in the 2026 season.
Great. Moving on to another development, the introduction of 100% e-voucher system as a mode of distributing farm inputs to FISP beneficiaries. What impact will this have to the farmers?
Thank you, Emmanuel. This is a very good system the government has brought across. And this is creating employment because the major players in this case are the private sector. And the government is reserving some resources to avert transportation costs. That was a burden on the part of the government. And this is why you've seen the budget allocated to this kind of arrangement was so much, huge resources and so on. So now the system where we are going through e-voucher is good in the sense that it's creating employment, especially for the agro dealers, who are a link between farmers and the producers, as well as also the farmers in that regard. But also looking at the challenges our farmers faced regarding issues of corruption, which about 200,000 of civil servants were benefiting from fertilizer, from FISP, of which this was not for the workers. This was an initiative for the vulnerable and viable farmers. And this is why you've seen that the impact was not so much because of corruption embedded in the system. And the government realizing this, they shifted, the system to e-voucher 100%. This entails that it is very easy to monitor who are the people that are benefiting from this program based on the NRCs. You are able to tell, and the system is able to depict. So this is a very good system that is working extremely very well for our country because it will help in the right targeting of the farmers. And if we target the right farmers, it entails that those farmers will be able to increase production and productivity. We need to go a step further, Emmanuel. We've had issues of sharing of these inputs, of which is detrimental, to the production levels of each farmer that are benefiting from this program. And this is simple. This is because the farmers that are benefiting from this program register through cooperatives. And when they get those inputs, for example, and there are about 50 farmers in a cooperative and only 15 farmers benefit, they are mandated to share of which the government does not allow this a thing to continue. But you see that some of these cooperatives may do this secretly away from the government in terms of people sharing some of these packages, of which is not good. For me, I think it is good the government to go a step further by ensuring that independent farmers in the future start registering, not based on the cooperative, but just independent farmers who are based in those camps can register through the camp officers, through the DACO's offices, and so on, away from this, so that even when they get these inputs, it will be an independent farmer getting this input, and it will be very easy to monitor, and it will be very easy to win them, you know, at the end of the day, because we know that the whole package was given to this particular person, and there is nothing like sharing at all. And I think this is a system, the e-voucher system, doing well and helping to impact the farmers positively, looking at the colossal sums of money that are involved in this package, and it will work well for our country. And recommendations, you know, to the Minister of Agriculture for ensuring that these systems works effectively very well. We have a challenge in concise delay of farmers accessing some of these inputs. Some of the farmers have accessed the inputs in January, but we get to understand, because this is a new system, and looking at the number of farmers that are involved in this system, it cannot just one thing that can work just there and then. And the realization of this through the review meeting that has been done by the Minister of Agriculture, they've mentioned to say, in the coming year, 2025, 2026, 2027 season, they will start the process early. You know, immediately after the end of the rain, they'll start the process early, realizing that some of the farmers have gotten the inputs late, of which this impacts actually on low productivity. Others got early, others got late. The government doesn't want anyone to get late these inputs, because they understand the essence of time. And in this case, they are working flat out to ensure that the coming season, all the farmers will get the inputs before the onset of the rain. And this is a plus to the Minister of Agriculture.
Great, great. What a practical insight coming from you, Dr. Bulaya. Dear viewers, at this particular moment, we go on a short break. We'll be back on the other side. Stay tuned.
Zambia Today is a program that keeps you informed on various government policies and programs. Join us every Tuesday at 18 hours. Don't miss.
Welcome back, dear viewers. In case you have just tuned in, this is Zambia Today. And today we are discussing the progress made in the agriculture sector. Joining us in the studio is Dr. Oliver Bulaya, who is an agriculture expert from Conservation Farming Unit. Dr. Bulaya, let's proceed with our conversation. Shifting our attention now to climate smart agriculture. How far have we gone as a country in promoting climate smart agriculture?
We've done extremely very well. In many forums, I've highlighted how the Minister of Agriculture and the Conservation Farming Unit have worked hand in hand in terms of enhancing the climate smart agriculture in the country for 30 years. For your own information, CFU has done extremely very well, touched the lives of the people. We've seen, Emmanuel, people that were merely charcoal burners and, you know, engaging into transitioning to conservation agriculture and seeing how their lives are elevated in terms of increased production and productivity, to an extent of some of these farmers going to an extent of even buying tractors, buying vehicles, and, you know, improving their livelihoods. These are key, you know, examples of how conservation agriculture practices can transform the lives of our farmers. when others are still struggling because they are still in odd ways of farming, based on conventional tillage or traditional kind of tillage systems, that is plowing and all that. So we've seen for the past years, many of the farmers uptaking the technologies, but we still have a lot of work to do. Because when you look at the numbers, we are somewhere around the 700,000, slightly over, close to, actually 751,000 farmers who have adapted, to conservation agriculture. But we are looking roughly about 3.5 to 4 million of smallholder farmers. So we still have a lot of work to do. And as Conservation Farming Unit, we've always, called upon all the sectors in the country to embrace conservation agriculture, and also to ensure that the practices that are being done are based on conservation agriculture. We are happy that we've seen the seed companies promoting, drought-tolerant seeds or resilient seeds. We've seen these companies incorporating, technologies that are based on climate smart agriculture. We've seen also the equipment companies also, providing technologies, equipment that enhance conservation agriculture or climate smart agriculture. So we are seeing a shift. From the time we've started, we've seen a lot of innovations and technologies to ensure that our farmers innovate. But we still have a lot of work, and we need concerted efforts, and we need also resources. We are the NGO sector, for example, who are working alongside with the Minister of Agriculture in terms of advancing climate smart agriculture. We need resources, to upscale the promotion of these programs as NGOs. So, all these, we've seen that conservation agriculture works, and our passion is this, that we want to see all the farmers across the country, that includes the large-scale farmers, to embrace their farming technologies based on conservation agriculture or climate smart agriculture based on the challenges that we are facing relating to the climate change.
Great. What should the general public expect from the Conservation Farming Unit this year, 2026?
We are on the ground, Emmanuel. Just when I was coming from the studio here, you've seen how my vehicle is fully packed, with some of the tools that we need to help our farmers to advance climate smart agriculture. Conservation farming is there on the ground. We are working with lead farmers. These are farmers that are across various regions, and we impart knowledge in them, and this knowledge retains within the communities where farmers are. We ensure that we don't leave any farmer behind in terms of the technologies that we use. We work with the women, that are marginalized in the communities, the youth, that we need also to see that they uptake, conservation agriculture and lead as an example in the community, because agriculture actually is the largest employer, across, the global community. So we need to see many of our women, our youths, involved in this. So we are flat out working in the communities, and we appreciate the supporters, the GIZ, that are supporting some of these interventions. We are glad also for the IMI, the International Water Management Institute, that have given us a funding for 2 years, also supporting our interventions, and actually the Minister of Agriculture, where Conservation Farming Unit, is as a chairperson of Climate Smart Agriculture Alliance in Zambia, and the Secretariat is the Minister of Agriculture, have really supported us in all these interventions, in all the areas where we are. So, in short, Emmanuel, we are on the ground passionately, and we want to see that our farmers transition from traditional kind of farming, to conservation farming, which is a modern way of farming that can provide sustainability for our farmers.
Great. What interventions needs to be executed in order to ensure timely adoption of climate smart agriculture among farmers?
Yes, conservation agriculture, like I've always said, is embedded on three principles. Number one, minimum tillage, where farmers use precision kind of tillage systems. Residue retention, where farmers do not burn, but keep the residues in their fields. That also is coupled up with mulching and all those systems. It is embedded on a crop rotation. So yes, we have quite a number of interventions in this aspect, but they are embedded on these important principles, and would want our farmers to appreciate soil nutrition as key. Like I mentioned, to say without soils, farmers cannot produce, farmers cannot gain anything. So farmers get from the soil depending on what they put in the soil and the level of nutrition in the soil. So it is very important that our farmers pay attention to the soils and also to pay attention to the environment. So we emphasize much more on issues of soil health and also issues of soil nutrition and issues of resilient seeds and also the environment itself. So working with various partners, the buyer, whatever, who are really hand in hand supporting us, the CDCO and others, we're really pushing in these areas to ensure that our farmers are supported in all these technologies.
The 2024-2025 farming season came as a surprise. Despite the government setting a target of buying over 500,000 metric tons, we recorded a bumper harvest, which pushed them to buy over a million of metric tons of maize. What lesson can we draw from there, despite going through climate challenges?
Yes, the government, I think, even with us, in the NGO sector, we've learned, quite a lot of lessons. And, we should be happy ourselves. This is a good challenge because farmers have produced.
Yes.
And this has been a cry. Looking at a situation where the government is projecting enhancing production to 10 million metric tons of maize and also 1 million metric tons of soya and also wheat by 2030. So we've started recording that. So a back to all the Zambians and the Minister of Agriculture fostering some of these policies where us in the NGO sector and the private sector are riding on. Our men and women at the Minister of Agriculture are doing it all. So this is a good challenge that we've seen. What can we do? Let's look at solutions. We shouldn't be learning all the time. We've learned enough lessons. What can we draw from this in terms of ensuring that we provide enough resources to pay our farmers adequately so that our farmers can invest even much more? So I think the Food Reserve Agency should stand ready to provide the ready markets, for our farmers. There was also an investment of dryers 3 years ago. The dryers were provided by the Food Reserve Agency to ensure that they start buying maize early from the farmers. Let them use that option now. We don't want a situation where our smallholder farmers start selling their commodities in the fields. This is a trend, Emmanuel.
Yes.
Before harvesting, farmers start selling their fields, because they are facing challenges here and there. We want our farmers to provide these, their produce, to ready markets that are providing favorable prices, because this will inject life even much more into the economic activities of the farmers, other than our small farmers, our smallholder farmers losing at the end of the day because of the pressure and many needs that they undergo. So I think we need to do much more in that aspect by ensuring that the Food Reserve Agency stands ready to provide markets to farmers, working together with the private sector in that regard.
Great. Even as we come to the end of the program, what could be your closing remarks?
Yes, I think for me, I need just to appreciate, our farmers. They are doing it all. And let's look at the resources the government is providing in the area of supporting our smallholder farmers. Enormous resources are going into this, and we commend the government for that. But we want to enhance. My call is for the government through the Ministry of Agriculture to enhance the extension service, because for us in extension, we have a bigger role, Emmanuel, to train our farmers, to build the capacity, to monitor what is happening, and provide feedback, to the government. We do all that. We provide feedback, to the government in terms of where our smallholder farmers are and the challenges that they are facing. And I think I need to add this, that for the farmers that they need support, especially in the area of climate smart agriculture. Even more, the farmers over 1 million farmers that are supported by farmers through FISIP program. The conservation farming unit has targeted, such kind of farmers, but there are particular areas where we are, because we are not everywhere, because of limitations of funding. But we want to see the government providing a policy matter where all the farmers that are under FISIP should be farmers that are practicing conservation agriculture or climate smart agriculture, because this is a way that will provide economic advantage for our farmers and cushion the impact of losses that comes through climate change.
Dr. Bulaya, thank you so much for coming to Zambia today.
The pleasure is mine. Thank you so
Great,
much.
great.
Thank you.
There you have it, dear viewers. This is where we've come to the end of today's episode of Zambia Today. Today we were discussing the progress made in the agriculture sector, and our guest has been Dr. Oliver Bulaya, who is an agricultural expert from Conservation Farming Unit. I have been your presenter, Emmanuel Mwemba, and on behalf of the entire Zanis production team, it is goodbye and continue enjoying the rest of our programming.